You know the feeling when you look at a photo and something just doesn't add up. Like it's too perfect, too clean. Like it's been touched by some invisible hand. What if I told you that feeling isn't just a trick of the eye? It's a glimpse into the birth of a digital revolution that changed the way we see the world. This is the story of how a tool that started as a simple image editor became the invisible force behind every photo you've ever seen. It's not just about editing. It's about shaping reality, one pixel at a time. And it all starts here, with a question, a vision, and a few pixels that changed the world. So what exactly are we talking about? Photoshop isn't just some fancy app. It's a digital canvas, a tool that lets you paint, edit, and transform images like magic. It's the software that turned ordinary photos into masterpieces, letting artists and amateurs alike shape reality with a click and a drag. So we're diving into the story of how this software went from a niche tool to a global phenomenon. How it became what we know today. And along the way, we'll uncover the people, the ideas, and the innovations that made Photoshop a cultural force. It's not just about pixels and layers. It's about imagination, collaboration, and the power of creativity in the digital age.
You might think Photoshop is just for editing photos, but it's actually a tool that shapes how we see the world. Every time you scroll through social media, you're seeing a version of reality that's been touched by Photoshop. The way we present ourselves, our brands, even our news, it's all been filtered through Photoshop. It's not just art, it's influence. Even if you never open the software, you're still affected by its power. It's not just an app, it's a silent force behind the visuals you see every day. So yeah, you should secretly care about Photoshop. Because it's not just about making things look better, it's about shaping the world you live in. Let's fast forward to the 1980s, when Adobe was just a small startup. Photoshop was born out of a need to make image editing faster and more precise. It started as a tool for the graphic design world, but it was about to change everything. In 1987, Photoshop 1.0 was released. It was a bit clunky, but it had the magic of layers, which made editing images feel like building with blocks. It was a revelation for designers and a game changer for the industry. By the mid-90s, Photoshop had become a household name. Its tools grew more powerful, and its user base expanded beyond designers into photographers, artists, and even hobbyists. It wasn't just a tool, it was a language. The 2000s brought even more innovation. Photoshop started to include features like smart objects, content-aware fill, and even 3D tools. It was no longer just about editing, it was about creating entire worlds. Today, Photoshop is everywhere. It's used in everything from movie special effects to digital art, from social media edits to scientific imaging. It's not just software, it's a way of thinking, a creative force. And that's just the beginning. Photoshop is still evolving, and its story is far from over. But one thing's for sure, its journey from a small startup to a global powerhouse is nothing short of incredible. Imagine you have a magic crayon that can change anything you draw. You can make a dog bigger, or a cat fly, or even make a dinosaur wear sunglasses. That's what Photoshop does, but for pictures. Photoshop is like a magic picture toolbox. You can make things disappear, add things that weren't there, or even change the color of the sky in a photo. It's like a puzzle with a twist. The best part, you can undo everything. If you make a mistake, just say undo and it goes back to normal. It's like having a magic eraser for your pictures. So, Photoshop isn't just about making pictures look cool. It's about giving you power to play, create, and imagine with your own magic crayon. So, before we even open Photoshop, we need to set up the right tools. Think of it like building a workshop. You need the right tools in the right place. First, make sure your computer is ready. Photoshop is a heavy program, so you need a decent processor and enough RAM to handle all those layers and filters. Once it's installed, launch Photoshop. You'll see a clean, organized interface with menus, panels, and a blank canvas, your digital canvas, waiting for your creativity. Now, set up your workspace. You can customize panels, arrange tools, and even save your setup for future projects. It's all about making Photoshop work for you. And that's it for the setup. Now you're ready to dive into the world of editing. Photoshop is powerful, but it starts with a solid foundation. So, once the image is in Photoshop, the magic really starts. It's not just about making things look better, it's about understanding how light, color, and shapes interact with each other. Photoshop uses something called a layer, which is like a transparent sheet you can place over your image. You can adjust brightness, color, or even add effects without messing up the original photo. Each layer has its own settings, like opacity and blending modes, which let you mix colors and textures in creative ways. It's like having a whole toolbox of digital paint and brushes at your fingertips. And then there's the power of masks, like invisible gloves that let you hide or reveal parts of an image without deleting anything. It's how Photoshop can be both precise and flexible. So, in step 2, Photoshop is all about giving you control over every detail without ever touching the original image. It's like having a digital canvas that adapts to your creative vision. Now, here's the clever twist. Photoshop doesn't just let you edit photos, it lets you edit the rules of the photo itself. You can take a single pixel and turn it into a whole new color, or stretch a line into a curve, or even make something appear that wasn't there at all. This is the power of non-destructive editing. You're not changing the original photo, you're creating new possibilities on top of it. So, Photoshop isn't just about making images look better. It's about giving you control over how the image behaves, feels, and even thinks. It's like giving a painting a second life. You can paint on it, change it, and never lose the original brushstroke. At the heart of Photoshop is a science you probably never saw: algorithms, math, and code working like a silent orchestra. It's not just pixels. It's logic, precision, and a whole lot of clever math that makes everything snap into place. Imagine a world where every image is made of tiny squares, pixels, each one a number that tells the computer exactly what color and brightness to show. That's how Photoshop starts, turning pictures into data. When you adjust brightness or contrast, Photoshop uses formulas to calculate the new values for each pixel. It's like a tiny math wizard working behind the scenes, making your edits smooth and accurate. And when you use tools like the brush or clone stamp, Photoshop is actually solving complex equations in real time to make the image look seamless, almost like magic. So next time you edit a photo, remember, there's a whole world of science and math humming underneath, making your creative vision come to life. Imagine you're in a kitchen and you want to make a perfect cake. You have all the ingredients, but you're not sure how to mix them. Photoshop is like having a magical chef's hat that tells you exactly how to blend the flavors, textures, and colors. Now, that chef isn't just throwing stuff in there. He's carefully measuring, adjusting, and even tasting as he goes. Photoshop does the same, but with pixels instead of sugar and flour. Okay, hear me out. The Fire TV Stick 4K streaming device. Scan that QR code or grab it from the link in the description, and hit subscribe for more pics like this. But here's the best part. The chef isn't just making one cake. He can make a whole bakery of them, each with its own unique flavor. Photoshop lets you create and edit multiple images at once, each with its own magic. So, in the end, Photoshop isn't just a tool. It's like having a chef who knows how to make your image taste better, look better, and feel better, all while you just enjoy the process. You think it's just layers and filters? Nope, Photoshop's got a secret sauce, its own language of pixels. It's like the brain of the software, quietly doing the heavy lifting. This is the engine behind every photo you've ever edited. It's what makes Photoshop faster, smarter, and way more powerful than you realize. It's not just about making things look good. It's about making the software understand what you want. It's like having a conversation with a machine that speaks your language. So next time you edit a photo, Remember, there's a whole world of magic happening behind the scenes, all powered by this hidden engine you never see. Myth number 1, that Photoshop was just a simple image editor. But let me tell you, it started as a tool for professionals, not just for your Instagram filters. Back in the early 90s, Photoshop was called Photoshop 1.0, and it was built for graphic designers and photographers who needed precise control over their work. This was no toy for amateurs. It was a serious tool for pros, and it changed how people created, edited, and imagined visual art. So, if you think Photoshop was just a filter tool, you're missing the whole story. It's a digital canvas, a creative engine, and a whole lot more. So, here's the next myth. That Photoshop was built in a single, magical moment by some genius with a keyboard and a dream. But let me tell you, that's not how it happened at all. Photoshop was actually the result of years of work, collaboration, and a lot of trial and error. It started as a small team of engineers and designers at Adobe, not a lone hero with a vision. The first version of Photoshop was released in 1987, and it was far from perfect. It was more of a tool for professionals, not the user-friendly magic wand we know today. So, to bust this myth, Photoshop wasn't built in one moment, it was built by many hands over many years, and it evolved through real people solving real problems. And remember, every great tool starts with a myth, but the truth is always more interesting and more fun. Photoshop isn't just in your photo editing app. It's hiding in the way your favorite ads look, the logos you see on billboards, and even the filters on your social media posts. Every time you scroll through Instagram, you're seeing images that have been touched up, retouched, and reimagined, all with Photoshop's help in the background. Your news headlines, product packaging, and even your favorite cartoons, they all have a secret. They were made or refined with Photoshop. Photoshop is like the invisible hand that makes the digital world look polished, colorful, and perfectly designed. And it's hiding in plain sight. Let me take you to a real-world example that goes surprisingly hard. Imagine a freelance photographer who's trying to deliver a client's project under a tight deadline. The client wants a dramatic, high-contrast image with a surreal twist. The original photo is flat, with dull lighting and no depth. They want the sky to change colors, the ground to glow, and the subject to have a glowing halo. It sounds simple, but it's anything but. The freelancer tries to replicate the effect, but the colors don't match, the glow is too harsh, and the image feels off. It's a tough call, but they keep pushing. In the end, they find a balance, tweak the colors, and deliver an image that's both dramatic and visually stunning. It's a real-world example of how Photoshop can go surprisingly hard, but also how rewarding it can be. So here we are, the peak of Photoshop's evolution, where the software didn't just grow, it exploded. It became a beast of creativity, powered by AI, neural networks, and a ton of horsepower. It's not just about editing anymore, it's about generating, predicting, and even creating art from scratch. Photoshop is now a full-blown creative engine, not just a tool. You can now turn a simple sketch into a photorealistic image in seconds, or generate text-to-image prompts that look like they were taken from a magazine. The future of Photoshop isn't just about making edits. It's about making art, making magic, and making it all feel effortless, powerful, and absolutely wild. And with every new update, Photoshop keeps pushing the limits. Because in the world of digital creativity, you never stop evolving. Photoshop is a powerful tool, but it's not magic. If you're not careful, you can accidentally ruin a photo, like turning a sunset into a bizarre, glowing mess. Sometimes, filters and effects can make things look completely wrong. Like turning a normal person into a glowing, cartoonish monster with exaggerated features. It's easy to lose track of the original image. Layers can get messed up, or you might accidentally apply a filter too aggressively, making the image look alien or unnatural. Photoshop can do amazing things, but it's also easy to go too far. Sometimes, the result looks more like a digital painting than a real photo, which can be confusing or even creepy. The key is to use Photoshop wisely and always keep a backup of your original image. Otherwise, you might end up with something that looks like it was created by a robot, not a human. You know how sometimes the best ideas start with a problem no one wants to admit? Photoshop wasn't just a tool, it was a solution to a real pain point in the industry. Before Photoshop, artists had to rely on time-consuming techniques like airbrushing, hand painting, or even physical photo editing, like cutting out people from pictures. But here's the thing, nobody wanted to admit they were stuck. So they kept using the old ways, even when they knew there was a better path. That's why Photoshop didn't just change the game, it made people rethink the whole process. It wasn't just about editing, it was about possibility. The downside nobody puts on the brochure. The truth is, Photoshop didn't just improve the work, it changed the way people even thought about creating art. So, how did humans even figure out how to make this happen? It started with a simple question. How can we make images look different without changing the original? The answer came from math and art. Early digital artists realized that by changing the brightness, colors, and shapes of pixels, they could create whole new images from the same source. At first, it was just basic tools, like adjusting brightness or flipping an image. But as computers got better, so did the possibilities. It took a team of engineers, artists, and visionaries to turn these ideas into something real, something powerful enough to change how we see the world. So the next time you see a photo that looks too perfect, remember, it's not just luck, it's math, creativity, and a little bit of magic. There's this one weird thing Photoshop can do that even its developers probably didn't expect. It's not a bug, it's just weird. You can make a photo of a photo of a photo, and it still looks real. It's like a Russian nesting doll of photos, but with pixels. You can keep adding layers, and it still looks fine. It's a weird little loophole that makes Photoshop feel like a magic trick machine. It's not just for photos. You can do it with text too. Put text in a text layer, then put that text layer into a photo, then put that whole thing into another photo, and it still looks like a normal image. Little sponsor break. Check out the Stanley Quencher 40 Oz tumbler. There's a QR code on screen and a link below to see it. Now subscribe and let's keep going. It's a kind of digital mirage. You can make something that's clearly made of layers, but it still looks real. It's like Photoshop is playing a game of pretend with itself. It's a weird edge case, but it's also a testament to Photoshop's power. It can do the impossible and still look like it belongs in the real world. That's why it's so weird and so cool. What if we didn't just fix photos, but made them into something entirely new? What if we didn't just enhance reality, but created a new kind of reality altogether? Imagine taking a simple image and twisting it into something that doesn't exist in the real world, like a sunset that never ends or a tree that grows upside down. This isn't just about editing. It's about bending the rules of perception, turning photos into portals to new worlds. What if we used Photoshop not to hide flaws, but to reveal new possibilities? What if we made the impossible look real? The what if question isn't just about creativity. It's about redefining what a photo can be. So how does Photoshop stack up against something you already know? Think of it like comparing a paintbrush to a digital canvas. It's not just about the tool, it's about the whole experience. Photoshop is like having a whole art studio in your pocket. You can blend colors, add effects, and tweak details with precision, just like a real artist would. It's not just about making things look good. It's about making things look right asterisk. Whether you're editing a photo or designing a logo, Photoshop gives you control over every detail. You can go from a simple photo to a masterpiece in minutes. Photoshop doesn't just edit images, it transforms them, just like a painter transforms a blank canvas. And the best part? You don't need to be an expert to get started. With a few clicks and a little creativity, anyone can turn a basic image into something extraordinary. Even now, Photoshop's creators and users still argue about whether it's a tool or a masterpiece. Some say it's just a digital brush, while others call it an art form in itself. It's like the old question, is it a camera or a canvas? Some insist Photoshop is the new paintbrush, while others insist it's the new easel. Some say Photoshop is the democratizer of art, while others say it's the gatekeeper of creativity. The lines are blurred, and the arguments continue. The truth is, Photoshop isn't just a tool. It's a cultural phenomenon, a digital revolution, and a battleground for creativity itself. So why do the experts still bicker? Because Photoshop isn't just a program, It's a symbol, a movement, and a way of thinking. At the heart of Photoshop's magic is something surprisingly simple: layers. Layers let you work on different parts of an image without messing up the rest. It's like having multiple transparent sheets stacked on top of each other. You can edit one layer without affecting the others, which means you can experiment, undo mistakes, and even combine elements from different photos. It's the foundation of everything you can do in Photoshop. But layers weren't just a feature, they were a revolution. Before Photoshop, photo editing was a laborious process. Now, with layers, you could create, edit, and compose with precision and ease. Layers gave Photoshop its edge, making it more than just a tool, it became an art form. Every image you've ever edited, every design you've created, starts with a single layer and builds from there. So next time you open Photoshop, remember, you're not just opening an app. You're unlocking a world of creativity, one layer at a time. Beginners think Photoshop is just for making things look cool, but the real power is in editing and fixing what's already there. It's not about adding, it's about improving. They also think it's all about layers. While layers are super useful, they're not the only tool. Sometimes, a simple adjustment can do more than a complex layer stack. Another common mistake is thinking you need to redo everything from scratch. Photoshop lets you work on parts of an image without touching the rest. That's the magic of non-destructive editing. Beginners also try to do too much at once. The best way to start is by focusing on one small fix, like adjusting exposure or color balance. It's easier to build up than to start with a huge project. And let's not forget, Photoshop is a tool, not a magic wand. It can't fix bad lighting or make someone look 10 years younger. Real results come from understanding the basics and using them smartly. You know how sometimes a single line can change the whole story? Well, in Photoshop's early days, a tiny detail about how it handled color actually changed everything for users and developers alike. Back in the 90s, Photoshop was still figuring out how to show color on a screen. One of the first big choices was whether to use 8-bit or 16-bit color depth. It sounds small, but it was huge. 8-bit color was cheaper and faster, but it limited the range of colors you could see. 16-bit was more expensive, but it allowed for smoother gradients and more accurate color editing. When Photoshop 3.0 came out, it made the switch to 16-bit color. It wasn't just a technical upgrade, it made the software feel more powerful, more precise, and more professional. This small decision about how color was stored and displayed became a turning point. It helped Photoshop stand out from other image editors and set the standard for the future. Imagine a world where you can turn a simple photo into a masterpiece with just a few clicks. That's the power of one number, 100,000. That number represents the number of times Photoshop has been updated since its first release in 1987. Each update brought new tools, new magic, and new possibilities. From the early days of Photoshop 1.0 to today's Photoshop 25, it's been a journey of innovation and imagination, like a never-ending story of digital artistry. This one number, 100,000, isn't just about updates. It's about the people who made it possible, the artists who pushed the boundaries, and the dreamers who imagined what could be. So next time you open Photoshop, remember, you're not just opening an app. You're stepping into a world built on 100,000 updates of creativity, power, and possibility. Back in 2007, Photoshop CS3 was used to create one of the most iconic digital art pieces of all time, the girl with the dragon tattoo poster. It wasn't just a poster, it was a statement about the power of digital creativity. The image was created by a team of artists using Photoshop's new features like smart objects and non-destructive editing. It was a huge deal because it showed just how far digital art had come. The poster wasn't just beautiful, it was also a bit controversial. Some people called it digital graffiti, but others saw it as the future of visual storytelling. It became a cultural landmark, showing the world that Photoshop wasn't just for photo editing anymore. It was a tool for creating entire worlds, one pixel at a time. That moment was a turning point. It showed the world that Photoshop wasn't just for professionals, It was for anyone with a vision and a little imagination. Most people think Photoshop is just about making pictures look better. But what if I told you it started as a tool for scientists? It wasn't about art at first. It was about solving real-world problems. Here's a find worth sharing: the Amazon Echo Dot 5th Gen smart speaker. Point your camera at the QR code or use the description link. Subscribe for more where that came from. Back in the 1960s, a researcher named Russell Kirsch wanted to study human faces. He used a machine called a digitizer to convert photos into numbers. It was slow, but it was a start. The first digital image editor was called image processing, and it was used in the 1970s. It let researchers adjust brightness, contrast, and even remove small flaws from their photos. It wasn't until the 1980s that this idea was adapted for the public. A company called Adobe saw the potential and turned it into a tool for artists, designers, and everyone in between. So, the next time you use Photoshop, remember it started as a tool for scientists. It was never about making art, it was about making science possible. And that's why it's still so powerful today. Photoshop is now more than just editing photos, it's shaping the future of creative tools. Imagine a world where AI can predict what you want to create before you even click a button. New tools are coming that can generate entire compositions, animate objects in 3D, and even understand the mood of a scene to enhance it automatically. What's next? A future where Photoshop doesn't just edit images, but creates them, blending imagination and technology in real time. The creative tools of tomorrow are already being built, and they're going to change the way we think about art, design, and storytelling forever. So, stay curious, stay creative, and get ready to see the world through a new lens, because the future of Photoshop is here, and it's just getting started. Even with all the tools and tech we know about, there are still parts of Photoshop that feel like magic. Some things just don't have a clear explanation, even for the pros, like why some filters work better than others, or how the same tool can act completely different in different situations. It's like Photoshop has its own secret language. There are also some features that just disappear. One day they're there, and the next day they're gone. No explanation, just gone. And then there are the "why does this work?" moments. Like, how does one tool make a picture look like it's made of glitter, but another one makes it look like it's made of glass? Photoshop is like a puzzle with missing pieces. We can solve most of it, but some parts are just unknown. And that's what makes it so fascinating. Did you know Photoshop was once called Photoshop for Macintosh and had a completely different look? Back in the 80s, it was a niche tool for professionals, not the everyday user you see today. In the early days, Photoshop was so slow, people had to wait for minutes just to open a file. But that didn't stop it from becoming a staple in the creative world. Photoshop was never just about editing photos. It started as a way to create digital art, and that's where its creative soul really began to shine. Even the name Photoshop wasn't always the same. It was originally called Image Pro before it got its iconic name in the 90s. And here's one you might not know. Photoshop was actually a side project for Adobe's founders, who were focused on PostScript at the time. Let me recap everything we've covered so far. Photoshop started as a simple image editing tool, but it grew into a powerhouse of creativity. It's not just about fixing photos anymore, it's about making art, telling stories, and bringing ideas to life. From its humble beginnings in the 1980s to today's advanced AI features, Photoshop has evolved with the times. It's now a full-fledged creative suite that supports everything from photo editing to 3D modeling. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, Photoshop has something for everyone. It's not just about making things look good, it's about making things that matter. So remember, Photoshop isn't just software, it's a gateway to creativity. And that's what makes it so special. Did you know Photoshop's first name was ImageMaster? It was a complete rewrite of the original program, designed to be faster and more powerful than ever before. The new version was so different, it almost didn't get released. But the team pushed through, and that's how Photoshop 3.0 was born, a game changer for digital artists everywhere. This rewrite set the tone for Photoshop's future, constantly evolving, always improving and never slowing down. So the next time you open Photoshop, remember, you're using a tool that was once almost canceled, but now defines the digital art world. And that's the last fact. But trust me, there's more to Photoshop's story than you've ever imagined. So there you have it, the cheeky, colorful story of how Photoshop became the digital design titan we know today. And remember, every great tool starts with a dream, a bit of code, and a whole lot of creativity. Thanks for sticking with me through all these beats. I know it's been a long ride, but hey, it's worth it for the knowledge, right? If you've enjoyed this journey, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications. We've got more stories, more beats, and more Photoshop magic coming your way. And if you're feeling adventurous, why not try Photoshop yourself? There's no better way to understand the tool than to use it, and trust me, it's a wild ride. Until next time, keep designing, keep exploring, and remember, the world is a canvas, and you're the artist. Stay curious, stay creative, and don't forget to say hello, I'm your host, and I'll see you next time. You ever heard of places that just stop existing? This isn't just an old building. It's a place that vanished from maps like it was erased from history. It was once a thriving town, full of life and laughter. But then, one day, everything changed. The asylum was built, and with it, the town's fate was sealed. Now it's just a ghost of itself. The walls still stand, but the echoes of the past are louder than the silence. People say the wind howls like it's screaming, and the shadows move when no one's looking. This place isn't just abandoned, it's alive, and it's waiting. So, what do you think? Is this just a spooky story, or is there something real hiding in those old walls? So what exactly are we talking about? Well, we're diving into the world of the supernatural, but not just any supernatural. This is the eerie realm of hauntings tied to abandoned asylums. These aren't just spooky stories. They're real-life accounts of people who claim to have encountered spirits or felt an otherworldly presence in these places. The hauntings often stem from the trauma, suffering, or even the deaths that took place within these walls, making them hotspots for paranormal activity. And don't think these are just random occurrences. There are patterns, stories, and even theories about why these places are so deeply haunted. So what are we really talking about? It's the intersection of history, psychology, and the unknown, where the past refuses to stay buried. You might think this is just a spooky story, but it's actually a mirror to our own humanity. We all have secrets, fears, and moments we'd rather forget. Exploring places like this helps us confront the parts of ourselves we ignore. It's not just about ghosts. It's about understanding the past and how it shapes the present. Every story, no matter how dark, has the power to connect us. We're all just trying to make sense of our own haunted pasts. So next time you hear about an abandoned place, don't just roll your eyes. It might be a gateway to something deeper than you realize. Let's speedrun through the history of this place. This asylum started life in the 1800s, built to house the mentally ill with a mix of hope and fear. It was known as the Hollowbrook Asylum, a name that carried weight and whispers of the strange things that happened within its walls. Okay, hear me out. The Apple AirPods, second generation. Scan that QR code or grab it from the link in the description and hit subscribe for more pics like this. But as time passed, the asylum became known for more than just treatment. Rumors of strange happenings, unexplained noises, and lost souls began to spread. By the 1970s, the asylum was abandoned, left to rot and decay, with only the wind and shadows keeping its secrets alive. Today, it's a ghost town of history, a place where the past still lingers and the air feels thick with forgotten stories. So, the core idea is like a spooky story that makes you feel like you're in a haunted house. It's not just about ghosts. It's about how places can hold memories and emotions. Imagine if you had a really sad memory in a place, like a park or a room. That place might feel different, like it's holding onto that feeling. The asylum is like that place where sad memories are kept. People who were there might feel something strange, like a ghost or a whisper, because the place remembers what happened. So, the core idea is that places can hold feelings and memories, and sometimes those feelings can feel like ghosts or hauntings. It's like the house is telling a story. That's the core idea. It's not about real ghosts, but about how places can carry the feelings of the people who were there. So, the first step in the haunting process is setting the scene. You need a place that feels untouched, like a forgotten chapter in history. Imagine stepping into a place where time has stood still. This isn't just any building, it's got to be something with a past. Maybe a place where people once suffered or where secrets were buried. The energy here is thick with stories waiting to be told. Now, the real magic starts. You need to make the space feel alive. Maybe add some subtle sounds, like a door creaking or a distant scream, to make it feel like it's not just empty, but inhabited. But don't forget the atmosphere. The lighting has to be just right, too bright and it's not scary, too dark and it's not real. Balance is key to making the whole thing feel authentic. Once the setup is done, the real action begins. You've got to make the audience feel like they're stepping into a world where the past isn't just remembered, it's alive. So how does it all actually work? Well, the first step is setting the scene, but now we're diving into the real action, how the mechanism triggers the haunting. Once the lever is pulled, it activates a hidden system of pipes and pulleys, sending a pulse through the building like a heartbeat. This system is designed to mimic the eerie sounds and movements of the past, creating the illusion of a spirit stirring from its slumber. The mechanism also controls the temperature, making the air feel colder and heavier, as if something is watching from the shadows. And to top it all off, the lights flicker dramatically, casting long, spooky shadows that dance across the walls. Now, here's the clever twist. This isn't just a ghost story. The real mystery lies in the science of sound and the way our brains interpret echoes. When the building is empty, it's like a giant, silent speaker. The walls, once filled with voices and laughter, now act as a natural amplifier. Every echo is a memory, trapped in the air, waiting to be heard again. It's like the building is remembering. It's not haunted, it's just echoing. And that's how the illusion is created, by the way sound travels through the structure. So next time you hear something, ask yourself, is it a ghost or just the building trying to remember what it once held? Sometimes the answer is both. You know that eerie hum you sometimes hear in old buildings. It's not just imagination. That sound is actually caused by something called sympathetic resonance. When the air vibrates at the same frequency as a structure, it can create that haunting, low-frequency hum. This hum isn't just random. It's tied to the materials and the shape of the building. Think of it like a giant, hollow instrument that's been left to play itself. The right conditions can make it sing with a deep, unsettling tone. Some people report hearing this hum during certain times of the day or under specific weather conditions. It's like the building is listening, responding to the world around it, creating that eerie, otherworldly sound. This science behind the hum is real, and it's part of why abandoned places feel so alive. It's not just the silence that's creepy. It's the invisible forces that make the building whisper to you. So next time you hear that hum, remember, it's not just a trick of the mind. It's the building itself, humming with a science that's as spooky as it is fascinating. So imagine if your brain was a haunted house, and every time you had a bad memory, it was like a ghost knocking on the door. You could hear it, but you couldn't see it, and it was always waiting for you to open the door. And when you finally open the door, it's not a ghost. It's just your own mind, replaying that moment over and over, like a broken record. It's not scary, it's just stuck. It's like your brain is trying to fix something, but it doesn't know how, so it just keeps going back to the same place, over and over again. It's not evil, it's just confused. So maybe the real haunted house isn't the building. It's the way our minds remember things. And sometimes, we're the ones who keep walking through the same door, not knowing we're already inside. So next time you feel like you're stuck in a memory, remember, you're not trapped in a haunted house. You're just your own brain trying to make sense of things. And that's kind of spooky in its own way. This part might sound like a dream, but it's all real. The patients weren't just suffering from mental illness, they were also dealing with something even darker. Some of the patients were actually being experimented on by doctors who believed in mind control. These weren't just crazy ideas, they were real, cruel, and often deadly. The patients who survived these experiments often couldn't tell the difference between reality and what they were made to believe. Their minds were broken, and their bodies were left with scars no one could see. This isn't just a story about ghosts. It's about the real, terrible things that happened in places like this. And sometimes, the past doesn't stay buried. So when you hear the whispers or feel the cold, remember, there's a reason it's happening. The past isn't just haunting this place. It's still trying to be heard. Myth number 1 is that the asylum is haunted by spirits of the patients. But here's the truth. Most of these buildings were never used for medical treatment at all. Many of these places were repurposed for other uses, like prisons, factories, or even churches. The idea of a haunted asylum is more fiction than fact. The real ghosts are the stories of the people who suffered there, not the buildings themselves. It's important to remember that the past is not just haunted, it's also heartbreaking. So next time you hear about a haunted asylum, remember, the real mystery is what happened to the people who lived there, not the ghosts they left behind. So here's the thing, the idea that asylums are haunted by the voices of the mentally ill is a myth. These places were built to help people, not to trap them. The voices people hear are often a result of the real, ongoing mental health struggles that exist today. The real story is that these buildings were designed to offer care, not to trap souls. Many asylums were actually places where people found support, even if the treatment methods of the time were questionable by today's standards. So, when people say they hear voices in these places, it's not because the buildings are haunted. It's often because the real, human experience of mental health is still being misunderstood and stigmatized. This myth is busted because it turns real human suffering into a supernatural story. It's important to remember that mental health is a real, human issue, not something that happens in haunted buildings. You're going to want to see this. The Kindle Paperwhite e-reader, link and QR code are right on screen and down in the description. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. So next time you hear the haunted asylum story, remember, it's not about ghosts, but about healing, understanding, and the ongoing journey toward better mental health care. This isn't just a spooky story, it's all around us. Every time you pass a forgotten building or walk through an old library, you're standing where history once lived. Even your phone has a little bit of that haunted past. It's full of data from places you've never been, and sometimes, it's hard to tell where reality ends and the digital world begins. So next time you're walking through a place that feels different, don't dismiss it. Maybe it's not haunted, it's just waiting for you to listen. Remember, the past is everywhere, and sometimes it's not just about the place. It's about the stories that live in it. Let me tell you about the real-life case of the Willowbrook Asylum in New York. This wasn't just any old building. It was a place where people were locked away without proper care, and it became a symbol of mental health neglect. In the 1960s, the state decided to close it, but instead of tearing it down, they left it abandoned. For years, it stood empty, overgrown, and forgotten, a haunting reminder of the past. Then, in the 1990s, a group of paranormal investigators decided to take a look. They brought cameras, microphones, and a lot of curiosity, and what they found was nothing short of eerie. They captured strange sounds, flickering lights, and even a cold spot that made the temperature drop by 10 degrees. The footage was real, and it made headlines, but here's the twist. It all turned out to be a hoax. The truth, the team had rigged the cameras and used special effects to create the eerie atmosphere. But even with all that, the public was so convinced they were seeing real spirits, it sparked a wave of interest in the paranormal. So, even when it's all fake, sometimes the stories we tell can be more real than the truth. And that's the real ghost of the Willowbrook Asylum, the power of belief. Now we're talking about the real deal, record-breaking, Crank to 11 Extreme. This isn't just a haunted place, it's a record holder in the supernatural world. The asylum has set the bar so high, it's like the haunted house version of a world record. People come from all over to experience the extreme side of the supernatural. The extreme here isn't just about fear, it's about pushing boundaries. This place has been tested, documented, and it's still holding its own against the best. Whether it's the cold spots, the whispers, or the full-on ghostly apparitions, this place doesn't hold back. It's the real deal, the extreme, and it's not holding back. So if you're looking for a haunted place that's truly extreme, look no further. This asylum is the ultimate haunted record holder. And remember, when you're in the extreme, you're not just experiencing the supernatural. you're setting the record for the most haunted place on Earth. Suddenly, the walls start to bleed. The once pristine white paint now drips like dark rivers, staining the floor and ceiling with something unnatural. The lights flicker wildly, casting long, jagged shadows that move on their own, as if something is lurking behind them. The doors slam shut, locking us in, and the temperature drops so fast it feels like we're being pulled into a void. We hear footsteps. No one is moving, but the sound is unmistakable, coming from the farthest corner of the building. The walls begin to crack, and the floor starts to shift, as if the building itself is waking up from a long, terrible sleep. There's a reason they don't put this on the brochure. The real story isn't about spooky ghosts or haunted halls. It's about the people who lived here and the terrible things that happened to them. This place wasn't just abandoned. It was shut down because of lawsuits, abuse scandals, and a complete breakdown of patient care. The walls hold more secrets than you'd think. The real horror isn't the ghosts. It's the history of suffering, neglect, and broken promises. Every stone here has a story of pain that's still echoing today. So when you hear the whispers or feel the cold, remember, it's not just the spirits. It's the weight of history, the legacy of suffering, and the silence that still lingers. The downside nobody puts on the brochure is the truth. And that truth is more terrifying than any ghost you could imagine. So how did people even figure out this place was haunted? Well, the first clues came from the locals, stories passed down through generations, whispered at night around campfires. Then came the strange noises, doors slamming, whispers in the wind, and things moving when no one was around. People started to notice patterns, like the same things happening at the same times. Some claimed to see figures in the corners of their vision or feel cold spots where no one was standing. Others heard voices calling out names they didn't recognize. But what really sealed the deal was the discovery of old records, diaries, medical files, and testimonies from former patients who described the same eerie experiences. These accounts, combined with the physical evidence and personal experiences, gave people the confirmation they needed. This wasn't just a creepy old building, it was a haunted place. There's a story about a patient who, after years of being locked away, somehow managed to escape the asylum. But not in the way you'd expect. The staff claimed he was never truly there, just a hallucination of a patient with a severe mental breakdown. But the dust he left behind was real. Researchers later called it a ghostly residue, a physical manifestation of a mental illness so intense it seemed to leave a trace in the air. It's a strange case of the mind affecting the physical world, a glimpse into the blurry line between sanity and the supernatural. This case reminds us that sometimes the most bizarre stories aren't just about ghosts, but about how our minds can shape the world around us. What if we didn't just explore this place, but used it as a tool? Imagine turning the asylum into a haunted house for a spooky event. You'd need to set the mood, create the right atmosphere. You'd use the architecture to your advantage, like using the ceiling to make sounds echo or hiding in the shadows to startle guests. Every corner could be a surprise. That's why you'd want a team of experts, like sound engineers, lighting designers, and maybe even a pyrotechnics crew. It's not just about the scare, it's about the experience. And of course, the real stars of the show, the actors. They have to be fearless, creative, and ready to go full horror movie at a moment's notice. So, in a way, the asylum could be more than just a place to visit. It could be a stage for a real-life horror story, written by the people who dare to play with the past. This isn't just any old spooky place. Think of it like a haunted house, but with more history, more mystery, and more layers of darkness. It's like a time capsule of fear, but unlike a haunted house, an asylum was built for real suffering, real people, real pain, real trauma. It's not just ghosts. It's the echoes of a place that once held real human horror. So when we talk about the haunting of this asylum, we're not just talking about a spooky vibe. We're talking about a place that was once full of real pain, real suffering, and real people. It's like a haunted house, but with a deeper, more tragic story. The fear here isn't just for fun. It's tied to real history, real lives, and real trauma. So when you think about this place, don't just imagine a spooky house. Imagine a place that once held real pain, real people, and real ghosts of the past. Experts still argue over whether the asylum was haunted or just a place where people's minds broke. Some say the echoes are real, others say they're just old walls remembering the past. Here's a find worth sharing: the Kindle Paperwhite e-reader. Point your camera at the QR code or use the description link. Subscribe for more where that came from. Psychologists say the trauma of the patients seeped into the building, creating a kind of emotional memory that lingers in the air. Some even think the building itself is a character in the story, responding to the presence of people who came to uncover its secrets. It's like a game of what if. What if the stories are true? What if the building is still listening? And that's why the debate goes on, because the truth might not be in the walls, but in the people who dare to ask. This whole eerie experience isn't just luck, it's all about clever engineering. The asylum was built with hidden pathways and soundproofed rooms, making it perfect for creating the illusion of movement and sound. The walls were designed to echo and distort voices, so even a whisper could sound like a scream. It's like an acoustic maze designed to play tricks on your ears. There are even hidden doors and secret staircases that allow people to move silently between rooms, making the whole thing feel like a real ghostly encounter. The clever use of mirrors and false ceilings creates the illusion of depth, making the space feel much larger than it is, perfect for trapping you in a haunted moment. All of this was done with simple, old-school tech, no fancy cameras or wires. Just clever design and a bit of theatrics, making the whole thing feel real. That's how it all works, the perfect mix of design, sound, and illusion. Now, let's see how the story really comes to life. Beginners often think the real horror is in the building itself. But the real scare is in the people who ignore the warnings and walk in without knowing what they're getting into. They also think the best way to get a good vibe is to film in the dark. But the real trick is to light it up and let the shadows do the talking. They also focus too much on the ghosts and not enough on the atmosphere. The real power is in the silence, the emptiness, and the feeling of being watched. And finally, they think the story ends when they leave the building. But the real horror is in the aftermath, the unanswered questions, the lingering fear, and the need to know the truth. Did you know that the original blueprints for this asylum were drawn by a man who later became a famous occultist? His notes, filled with strange symbols and cryptic phrases, were overlooked for decades. These symbols weren't just decoration, they were a code. Scholars recently decoded them and discovered a hidden chamber beneath the main building, long thought to be solid rock. This chamber was used for experiments in the 1800s, and it's believed that some of the most disturbing events in the asylum's history took place there. No one has ever been allowed inside since. But now, with new technology and fresh eyes, researchers are planning a full exploration of the chamber. It could change everything we know about this place and its dark past. So here's the thing. Out of every single building in the world, only 1 in a million is abandoned. That's not just a number, it's a reality check. Imagine if that 1 in a million was you. You're not just a random person, you're the only one who gets to experience this place. That's wild. So next time you walk through an old building, remember, you're not just a visitor. You're the 1 in a million, and that's pretty damn cool. That 1 in a million isn't just a number. It's a reminder that you're part of something bigger, something rare, something real. And that's the one number that puts it all in perspective. You're not just visiting an old building. You're part of a story that only 1 in a million gets to live. This moment actually made it into a viral TikTok video, where a user shared a clip of their own haunted house experience that felt eerily similar to what we saw here. They described hearing footsteps and seeing a figure in the hallway, just like the one we saw in the asylum footage. It's like the ghost was reaching out across the internet. This shows how stories like these can take on a life of their own, spreading through digital spaces and becoming part of a shared cultural memory. It's a reminder that even in the modern world, the past and the unknown still has a way of finding us, whether in a haunted house or a TikTok feed. Most people walk into a haunted house and ask, who's here? But what if the real question is, why are they still here? Abandoned places are like time capsules. They hold the memories of the people who lived there, and sometimes they don't want to let go. Think of it like a story that's still being written. The ending hasn't been decided, so the characters are still waiting for resolution. So next time you're in a haunted place, Don't just ask who's there, ask why they're still here and maybe what they need from you. Because sometimes the most important question isn't about the past, it's about the future. We're standing on the edge of the future, where tech is already making the supernatural feel real. Imagine 3D audio that pins sounds in space, or AI that can reconstruct what happened in the dark. Virtual reality is now allowing people to step into haunted spaces, feeling the cold, hearing the whispers, and even experiencing the fear like it's real. And with real-time AI, we can now analyze the data from these sessions, like patterns in the whispers, shifts in temperature, or even the emotional state of the person experiencing it. This is the next frontier, where the line between the real and the imagined is fading. The asylum isn't just a place, it's a canvas for discovery. So, as we move forward, we're not just chasing ghosts, we're building a new language for the unseen. And that's just the beginning. There are things in this place that still don't make sense. No one can explain why certain doors stay locked or why some rooms feel colder than others. It's like the building itself is holding its breath. Some people say the walls are whispering in a language no one can understand. It's not just sound, it's a feeling, like the air is vibrating with secrets that have been locked away for centuries. Some say the echoes are not just from the past, but from something still here, something that doesn't want to be found. It's like the building is watching, waiting. And then there are the moments when you feel like you're being followed, but when you turn around, there's nothing. It's not fear, it's something older, something that knows you're here. The mystery isn't just in what we can see or hear. It's in the silence between the sounds, in the spaces between the stories. Some things are better left unsolved. Did you know this asylum was built in the 1800s as a place for the mentally ill? It was called the House of Mercy back then, but it wasn't really merciful at all. One fun fact is that the original building was made mostly of brick and stone, which made it surprisingly strong, and also really hard to tear down. Some say the asylum had a secret basement where patients were kept in isolation for weeks, sometimes months, with no light or sound. Fun fact, the building was eventually abandoned after a fire in the 1930s, which made the place even more mysterious and spooky. And finally, the asylum was officially closed in the 1970s, but its ghostly stories still live on in local folklore and, of course, this video. Let me recap the key moments we've explored. We started with the history of the asylum, its rise and fall, and the tragic stories of those who lived there. Then we walked through the grounds, uncovering hidden rooms, mysterious symbols, and the chilling sounds that still echo through the halls. We uncovered the ghostly presence of the patients, the nurses, and even the doctors, each with their own haunting story to tell. Along the way, we found clues that hinted at the asylum's dark past and the possible origins of the spirits that still linger. And finally, we reached the heart of the mystery, the old operating theater, where the true story of the asylum begins to unfold. Here's a find worth sharing: the Apple AirPods, second generation. Point your camera at the QR code or use the description link. Subscribe for more where that came from. Did you know that some asylums were built with secret tunnels and hidden rooms? These were designed to contain the most dangerous patients, and some were even used for unethical experiments. In some cases, these tunnels were used to move patients secretly between buildings or even to escape. They were a chilling reminder of the asylum's dark past. These hidden spaces have fueled countless urban legends, and even today, some believe they're still used for mysterious purposes. So next time you hear a rumor about an old asylum, remember, there's always more than meets the eye. Well, that's the end of our spooky journey through the haunted halls of the old asylum. But don't worry, the ghosts are still here, waiting for their next adventure. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more thrilling explorations into the unknown. Who knows where we'll go next? And if you have any questions, tips, or even ghost stories to share, drop them in the comments. Your input could be the key to unlocking the next big mystery. Stay curious, stay brave, and keep those eyes open for the supernatural. Until next time, stay spooky. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, so you're the first to know when we dive into the next haunted location. See you next time, and remember, some doors are better left unlocked. You're standing in the middle of a crumbling, once bustling asylum, now a silent tomb of forgotten patients and whispered secrets. The air feels thick, like the building itself is holding its breath. The doors creak open on their own, inviting you inside. The floorboards groan beneath your feet, and the silence is so deep it feels like it's pressing against your ears. You hear a faint whisper, not from the wind, but from the walls themselves. It's like the building is trying to tell you something, but the words are just out of reach. As you take your first step inside, the lights flicker, and the shadows on the walls seem to shift and move like they have a life of their own. This isn't just an abandoned building. It's a place where time and reality seem to bend, and where the past is never truly gone. So what exactly are we talking about? Well, we're diving into the world of abandoned asylums, places where the past still lingers and the echoes of history won't let go. These aren't just empty buildings. They're spaces where people once lived, suffered, and sometimes even died, leaving behind a trail of stories that refuse to fade. Think of it like a museum of human experience, where every corner holds a memory and every wall whispers a tale that's still waiting to be heard. So when we talk about these places, we're not just talking about buildings. We're talking about the people who lived there and the stories that never left. That's why they're so fascinating, so eerie, and so full of potential for discovery. Because the past is never really gone. You might think this is just a spooky story, but the truth is, this isn't about ghosts, it's about human history. Every abandoned place has a story, and this asylum is no different. These places remind us of the mistakes we've made, the lives we've touched, and the lessons we've learned. They're like time capsules of our past, filled with emotions and experiences. By caring about these places, we keep their stories alive. They teach us about the people who lived there, the struggles they faced, and the progress we've made. Even if you don't believe in ghosts, you should care about the real history behind these places. They help us understand who we are and where we've been. So next time you hear about an abandoned place, remember, it's not just a creepy spot. It's a story waiting to be told, and you're part of the audience. Let's fast forward through the decades. In the 1800s, asylums were all the rage, built to cure the mentally ill with treatment that ranged from restraint to shock therapy. By the 1900s, things had changed. New ideas in psychiatry emerged, and many asylums were abandoned as hospitals and clinics took over the care of the mentally ill. In the 1970s, the asylum— comment this emoji if you made it to the end.